Okay, we'll say whether he's going to be
Oh,
here.
he will not be here.
Okay. Okay, well, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes of the last meeting? Is there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve as written.
Been moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Darrell. All in favor? Minutes are approved. Okay, Sheriff report. Cody.
So to start off with, we have a couple more weeks, and the deputies who are at the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center will be coming back and graduated and ready to go to work. So I'm kind of excited about that. Bad news is, in the meantime, we've had another deputy resign, so that still leaves us a little short. I don't know what we're going to do to begin the process of whether we're going to hire somebody or not. Right now, Sean Preston, he got offered a position. This is something I'm going to talk to the commissioners about on Wednesday at the commissioners meeting. We had a salary comparative study, was that about 5 years ago, when Austin Peter did, and they moved our salaries up where we were really competitive, and actually we were one of the highest paid sheriff's offices in this 15th Judicial District. We were actually paying better than our neighbors to the south in Sherman County. Somehow we fell asleep in that 5 years, and our starting salary pay is around $14.40 an hour for an uncertified officer until he goes to the academy. Then he moves up about $1 an hour. Wallace County is offering $18 an hour for an uncertified officer, $17 over to the east. You know, we fell behind a long ways. He got offered a position back in Dundee County where he's from. It's not quite, but almost $20,000 a year more than what he makes here. So it's really, we're kind of in a position where 5 years ago we were very competitive. And what happened is nobody could hire anybody. Nobody was applying to be a cop because, let's be honest, it's not a very popular job right now. So everybody else responded by raising their pay. And where we were ahead of the game, and we were paying more than everybody else, we just kind of sat back and didn't realize it was happening around us. So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday at the commissioners meeting, and I'm not expecting an immediate response and immediate resolution to it right now, but it's something that I think we need to look forward to as we start working on budgets for 2021 when we go into our budget sessions at the county. So, but yeah, one of those things, you sleep for a couple of years, next thing you know, you thought you were ahead of everybody else and you're behind. So the big shock was how much Wallace County was paying. That was, but they said they can't get anybody to apply. So yeah, that makes sense. So beyond the politics of that, police report is we had 50 things in Bird City, 119 countywide, 144 in St. Francis, and 13 in Wheeler. What I don't like is, again, if you go in there, 22 of those things that happened in St. Francis were in inspections. Of course, they happened in St. Francis. They happened at the courthouse. So you could strike those 22 off pretty easy. But we did a search warrant in town this month on drugs. We made 2 arrests that are currently incarcerated at Sherman County Bastille. That will go through district court and the level of crime and stuff that's being involved. That's probably one of the biggest things that happened in St. Francis city limits. So we've been getting a lot of calls. We've been working on, I shouldn't say a lot of calls. I didn't put these in here because I don't think they really belong anywhere, but we've been doing a lot of stuff with the COVID outbreak that's been happening. We've been running tests to Colby so they can be shipped out. We've been going to get medical supplies and running them back, things like that. Like I said, I didn't put those in the stats because they really don't fit anywhere, but we've been doing that. Last week, at least once a day, we made a run that was COVID related outside the county, either to take tests down so they could be tested or bring supplies or something like that. So
Not the test call, just like final test calls?
those are 911 test calls. Those are just the cell phone companies themselves will initiate a test call. They'll always let us know it's coming, so it's not a surprise, but they'll do random test calls to make sure that their system's up and working without 911. So, and again, because dispatch is in St. Francis, it gets logged underneath the St. Francis call, because that's where it comes in. So, that's what I'm trying to say is you go through there, don't look at the top number, kind of glance through them, because you'll see some things that are, things like that.
What's the alarm do?
The alarms go off. There's different alarms, like, well, the motorcycle museum hasn't gone off for a while, knock on wood. Bank employee forgets when they leave. The rest of them has them all the time for fire, things like that. So, so that's what these alarms are. If it actually turns into a real call, the real call will be there instead of the alarm. So when you see alarm, that means it was either malfunction of the equipment or something. So if it's, like, say, for example, if there's an alarm at Motorcycle Museum and we go there and somebody actually broke in, it's going to be categorized as a burglary, not an alarm. So when you see alarm.
Could it work something, the identity theft?
What's that?
The identity theft, is that like a merchant?
Yeah.
What about the livestock route? Is that really in St. Francis, or is that?
Well, most of that is, I can't believe there's 11 of them, but we do have livestock out in St. Francis. Most of the time it's over there, or, so, at least 3 of them are in St. Francis, but 11 of them, I don't know why there's so many in there. I can't explain the system. We keep trying to make it better. We keep trying to get things categorized better and better, but we keep getting stuff like that. But no, we do get plenty of livestock out calls in the city limits of St. Francis. Out there on the highway around Dollar General, you get calls out there, like I said, out here. So it does happen quite a bit in St. Francis. And we do get some wildlife calls in town too. So that's where we're at. So, any other questions over the police report?
Have any questions for Cody?
Is there a way to get those VIN inspections where they fall under the county, since that's more county?
Actually, Kat and I were working on that today, because when I printed this off, I was like, this is horrible. See, what happens is, when they enter in, they have to, it will not let them enter without an address. So they have to put an address. So they put 212 East Washington in. And then we have to find a way to segregate those out. So that's why it shows in St. Francis, is because they can't press enter without an address. So that's what they use. Maybe on the VIN inspections, maybe it's something where we can create a new address somewhere somehow and say they all happen.
A dummy address.
A dummy address. But they're going to show up in one of those categories. Everything has to show up in one of these categories that were created. So, but if we, the commissioners don't ask for stats, just Birch City and the city of St. Francis. So if we throw them in underneath county, it really won't matter. So maybe we could just put them down that they're happening on 1860 Road 25 or something like that, and then they'll pop up there. But right now they're sitting down happening in East Washington. So.
I think, wasn't there at the last meeting about the old police vehicle that you were still waiting to get
Dodge Charger.
Yeah.
equipment out of?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And then what about the, I guess Carol's not here, with the film crew that's coming to use the old?
I don't know anything more. I told them to make sure to talk to you guys. I just suggested it, so I don't. I
No,
haven't
I think they still want to use it, but there's still stuff over there.
Oh, okay.
So just,
Yeah.
like, they were coming, was that the
Yeah,
middle to
Sometime
end
this-
of September?
Yeah.
So, just so that you got all of your stuff out of there.
Yeah, we're bad.
before-
We need to finish that, and we need it. I don't know if you guys want to put a door up, or I can put a door up on that back part, where the cell is, where we talked about putting a door. I can get a hold of somebody if you guys want to do it or whatever, but yeah, we need to go over there. I think there's like 2 more trips left, and I tell the guys, when you get time, go do it. And apparently nobody ever has time, so, because it never gets done until we need something, then I send them over to get it. But,
Just
yeah.
wanted to make sure if they were going to utilize that,
Yeah.
you had all of your stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a file cabinet still over there that's
Yeah.
not locked, and
Yeah.
looks like it's got important
Yeah.
stuff.
And that's, we need to get it done.
Wasn't that the middle of this month?
Yeah, that's what they
This
said,
month, they're
but
coming out
I
and they
haven't
start
seen
filming
any.
in November or
Sometime.
something like that.
So,
So you might just put that on, not the back burner, maybe
yeah,
move it up.
it's been on the back burner for way too long, so, yeah, 'cause we have a whole bunch of stuff we need to, like I said, the biggest thing is every time we move something, we have to find a place to put it. It's not like we're having overabundance of room, so, but. no. Anything else?
Anything else from anybody?
You guys happy? I know we've had a couple of big events. We're happy with the way we took care of them.
You guys did a great job for us.
Anything more or less that you guys?
I didn't hear of any problems on anything, so.
I'm very appreciative.
Like I said, as this is new, if there is something, I want to know so we can make it better. And if there's some way we can change something or do something more or less, just let me know.
Communication seemed to help.
Yeah, communication, very key to that.
Yeah.
Made a big difference, so, yeah. So, and I thought both events went off smooth from my perspective, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the sheriff's report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Amanda and second by Larry, all in favor? Approved.
Thanks, Cody.
Is there any reason for me to stick around?
I think so. Thanks, Cody. Okay. New business, okay. Karen on the Scout Hut.
Oh, hello. Pardon me if I don't stand it. Can't stand very well right now. I would like to propose making the Scout Hut handicap accessible. I just had surgery on my ankle, so I can't really get in and out of it too well without getting hurt. I have Bill here who said he would help me figure out how we could do that. Because it's just really hard to get in and out of there. I've had several girls almost fall getting into it, just because, they're pretty wild. But I just would really like it to be handicap accessible, so I can actually go to meetings again. So.
Is there any reason why the Scout Hut particularly needs to be used for the Scout business, or is it just kind of tradition?
That's the only place we can go. It's only Girl Scouts at this point. Boy Scouts meet in a church.
When you say it's the only place you can go, why is that?
There's nowhere else.
Is there no way to reserve the room at the library?
Oh, absolutely not.
Should be able to
Why not?
use the library.
Because our meetings get really loud. And we have 13 girls, and we're getting more.
And what time are the meetings?
We meet from 4 to 5:30 on Tuesdays. And the older girls, I know, meet on Mondays, and I know there's another troop that meets.
And they store stuff in there too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when they go in there, their flags are there, they're all there.
Yeah, it's all set up, so we have everything in there, and we can just, get to our meetings and whatnot.
What would it take to make it handicap accessible? I guess I haven't been in there. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yes, I went down and looked at it, and the south door, that is just one step up that high going up. If that was a cement ramp there, so the weather would deteriorate, it wouldn't take that much to do it. Inside, there's 2 steps down, but they could just go out another foot, but the ramp, which in this case would go to the west, it wouldn't take that much to do it. And I'm quite certain if you ask for volunteers in the community, people would volunteer to help do this. The biggest or the hardest part would be the cement ramp, but it would be there forever. And I've got a question, isn't that a public building? And doesn't public buildings require to be handicap accessible?
There are certain regulations, and I, as counsel for the city, am going to advise no one who is not fully aware of the ADA Act and the regulations pertaining thereto to avoid from commenting. And without specific knowledge of what the request was up until now, we will have to take that under advisement and look into exactly what is required, because there are certain things that are required pertaining to municipalities and certain things that are required for privately owned venues. The ADA is not one size fits all, and therefore we will take it under advisement, and I will look into what is required to make sure that the city is doing what it needs to do, but that depending on what the situation is, there may be certain exceptions, as with everything.
Okay, can you show me those rules and regulations?
I would be happy to do so once I have had a chance. The ADA is thousands of pages long, and I'm not going to read through the entire thing I'm not going to read through the entire thing to find it. I will have to do targeted research, which is why I had not looked into it until tonight to ascertain what is being asked of the council and of the city. And so I will be happy to provide you with both the laws and the regulations as I have looked into them.
Okay.
But that will be likely not until the next council meeting.
Is that a 3-foot door?
It's 2 weeks.
Uh,
That's front.
One might be the side one, no.
The side
It
one,
might
the
be
one that
accurate.
faces to the east is too small for a full-size wheelchair to go through. It would have to be done in the front.
And I think right now, only the Girl Scouts are using that building.
But-
Yeah.
but
4-H.
the key
4-H
thing,
though? Okay.
the key thing there is once it's made handicap accessible, you might be able to use that going for other things as well as just the scout vehicles. It's large enough, and centuries ago when I was a Boy Scout, that's where our Boy Scout hut was right there. It's been remodeled on the outside and stuff, and I think I'm over, well, there might be somebody my age here, but you go back in the 50s, that's what was a scout hut.
I think it's definitely looking into, I mean, putting the ramps there, it might not be fully compatible with ADA.
And it may not need to be. I mean, the what is required, if there are reasonable alternatives, that may be ADA compliant if there are reasonable alternatives. What is specifically needed in this situation, like I said, is targeted. I mean, the ADA covers a vast majority of situations, not all of which are applicable to municipalities, not all of which are applicable to government agencies, not all of which are applicable to accessing different kinds of structures. And so obviously the city is going to do what the city needs to do in order to be in compliance with any laws and regulations. However, until we know what that is specifically in the situation, which I will look into prior to the next council meeting. The next council meeting is in 2 weeks, and so I will look into that. And I would certainly be happy to send you what our findings are and make that available.
Okay, thank you.
Wouldn't it be advisable both to look into the legality and the practicality of doing it as well at the
Yes.
structure? That
I
way
like
we have
it. I
both
mean-
pieces of the puzzle, whether we're
Yeah.
required to or not. We may decide to, and we could have that information.
That's what I
at the
mean,
same
it seems like
time.
it seems like it would be a simple fix.
Certainly, if the council would like to look into the practicality of making it,
More accessible.
we will say
ADA
more
compliant.
accessible.
What
More
is-
accessible and ADA compliant may not be the same
But if we can
thing.
make it more accessible,
What are the liabilities on a temporary ramp, like a metal foldable wheelchair ramp? We use that at our church for a while. We have it at our church. We don't use it anymore because we did the work.
That's accessibility, not ADA compliance.
Right.
If we can make it
Yeah,
more
it's just
accessible.
accessibility, that's all it is.
And you can't do that on a public venue like a theater or a public
Right.
building where all of the public is supposed to be able to enter. You can't utilize that in an open platform like that, but you can in accessibility is my
Right.
understanding.
Okay.
And would the city council be open to letting people rent it again?
Did we ever?
I thought we still,
We've always been able to rent it if somebody wanted to.
Well, because last I heard, it was only open to Scouts and 4-H because people weren't cleaning up and stuff.
well, there was an issue with people cleaning up after
Yeah.
themselves, yes, but it
Yeah.
wasn't the
We
people
never-
renting it.
Okay. And I was wondering if I could make another request. This is Celeste wanting me to ask this because I was coming here tonight. Her and her girls went there before we started having Scouts, and they deep cleaned the place. There was like that thick of bugs just around it, dead bugs around it. And with COVID and all that wonderful stuff going on, can we get someone in there from the city or somebody, maybe bi-weekly just to get rid of the bugs so our girls don't have to deal with it, or is that up to us to clean up the dead bugs and spider webs and dust and all that wonderful stuff?
The last time it came up, the agreement for the scouts to use it as an open platform was to keep it clean as well. The cleaning was, the additional cleaning that we was doing was after the renting parties, but that
Okay.
was the actual purpose of the agreement with the scouts, was just to maintain it in a
Okay.
clean and orderly manner.
I think
Whether you want to change that or not is
Yeah.
up to you, but that's what it has
And it
been.
gets sprayed, right? With
What's that?
With the bug, whoever we...
You know, we may, yeah, I think we have, I don't know. I guess I'd have to double check the Hinkle, but it's one of our
But I was
facilities.
gonna say, I would think
I thought
it
it-
gets sprayed, doesn't it?
I thought he went around to all the buildings.
mean,
I
there's
guess
a-
let's double check on that, and make sure that it's getting sprayed as well.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of bugs. I think the vacuum cleaner has been broken. It was just somebody didn't put it together right, and it fell apart when my girls were using it. So I haven't seen it lately.
Just bought a new one like a year ago.
I don't know. I've only been to one meeting, so I'll have to talk to Celeste, but last year it broke.
Yeah, and I bought a new one for the
Okay.
Scout Hut. So if it's missing,
Is it?
I said if it's missing, then
Oh, well, I don't think it's missing.
Oh.
Like I said, I've only been back once since
Okay.
this season.
One
Yep.
last thing, if we can do a fundraiser to do this, I'm more willing to get started on one way or the other. Done a lot of them over the last couple of years.
I'm sure the Girl Scouts
Appreciate it.
would help out with fundraising too. Maybe even Boy Scouts, I can't speak for them all.
Okay, well, we'll do some checking into it. Lauren's going to check into the legal part, and we'll do some more checking into it and have a answer, hopefully, at the next meeting of how to fix it.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Next item is the house numbers.
So Amanda had asked me to find some, and so I did. There's some, let's see, I looked at all of them.
They were all pretty, I just glanced through them. They all seem to be about the same, other than enforcing the fine, I guess.
Yeah, that was mainly the difference. Riley County, theirs is really very detailed about how their houses are numbered. So that one got really detailed. But the other three, yeah, it just had to do with compliance and the fines and everything. So,
I haven't read these or anything yet, but surely the number's got to be a certain size, don't they? 4 inches,
4 inches
okay.
wide.
Yeah, okay, I see it now. I was going to say they're going to have to be at least 4 inches to be able to see them from the street.
the Coldwater had it where when they enacted their ordinance, they had it to where the city would pay for the numbers if people came in and requested them for the first 30 days after the ordinance was passed, to encourage people to do it. And then from day 31 to 60, the homeowners had to purchase their own, but there was still no penalties if they didn't do it. But from day 61 moving forward, then there was a $5 a day fine for noncompliance. And in Garden Plain, when they put their ordinance into effect, people had 90 days to comply, and then the fine became $5 a day. Hiawatha, they didn't have any penalties for noncompliance.
I don't see any need that we need to pay for it.
Yeah, especially with that. I mean, the ordinance is there for emergency reasons, correct?
Right.
I don't know why we would pay for someone to apply with that.
And to buy 3 numbers, pretty well everybody's house is in here. We don't have large numbers. And so everybody, 3 numbers, it's not going to cost that much for them to get 3 numbers out, whether they put them up in a metal form or they paint them 4 inches, you know.
And I can just tell you, you could have 5 different styles, and it wouldn't be the one that my wife wanted, so you might as well just buy your own anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as long as they're 4 inches and you can read them from the street.
You can't get in yet?
It's fine, it's just.
Oh, just
I
now.
had to shut it down and restart it. I don't know why it wouldn't connect.
Oh.
But we don't have an ordinance on this, right?
Right. We have,
Just for new construction.
yeah.
Our ordinance says for new construction.
But that's not enforced, because how many new houses here in town have the numbers on them?
Well,
Go look.
You
Probably
take your
not.
house, you take your numbers off and you put them back up. Just for the city crew and for the emergency responders, that
Mhm.
would be one.
I do think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'll say it again, when we first moved here, trying to find out where someone lived, you split an item quicker, you can figure that out, you know. What about so-and-so's house? I don't know whose that is, you know.
It is.
Yeah.
Give me an address.
So-and-so used to live there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just, 2 houses down. from
Our house is
so-and-so.
still not our house. I think it's your house when you die. And then it's still our house. So,
It's your house
There's
when you
some
move,
of that,
it's your house
yeah.
when you move out of it.
oh, is that it?
That's,
Okay.
that's what it
Oh.
is.
Okay.
Yeah. And it depends on the generation to whom you're speaking, because for the older people, I live in the Smalls house, and for the younger people, I live in the Johnson house.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of these discuss a penalty with the council. I guess I can take a stab at drafting an ordinance, submit it to Lila for your approval at the next council meeting. If you want to pass it, we can get it in the paper. Some of our ordinances have specified penalties. Is there a amount you would like to set?
Well, I don't think you would need to penalize them $5 a day if they don't have it up in
No,
90 days,
no.
but,
But I think if,
But you
people are
said-
going to comply, that you need something to, some sort of, little bit of teeth.
How about, can you just do a may impose a penalty up to a given amount?
The ordinances say that if it's not specified, I may impose a penalty up to a year in prison or $1,000.
Well, that's what I'm
So-
talking about. That's what I like.
Yeah.
That's a motivator.
That's, I think that a lot of times what has started happening, especially with the police department, the sheriff's office, has started enforcing dog at large citations a lot more than what they used to. At least I've seen quite a few come through this year already. Unless the dog does damage, it's $25 plus court costs for plus the costs and fines for the first one, $50 for the second one, $100 everyone after that. I think it's $50 fees and fines, and so it's $75, $100, $150, and then $150 every time after that. And if you're going to have something like this, if we can put something like that in place, the first time you're cited for it, it's 25 plus costs. Second time 50, third time 100, third and more time 100. It prevents them from having to come in and make a pleading. And I mean, if they get a citation, they can just go in and pay it to the city office. Otherwise, what started happening with dog at large cases is if they are not given an amount to basically go in and pay, they come, I come, we have some form of court proceeding just for them to say, can I just pay this? And then, I mean, I'm happy to show up, but it seems like it would be more prudent to just have a defined amount of what it would be, so that way the...
I've got an idea on that, though, that would step away from that, because it shouldn't be an ongoing. We're trying to get everybody to comply.
Right.
So why wouldn't we put it, pass the ordinance, worded properly for this scenario, then say, give a given amount of time for you to have these numbers put on your property. In the event you do not do this, the city may hire a contractor, have them installed, and charge you on your city bill for having it done. That way we just finish it.
Does the city actually have the right to do that, though?
I don't know. You're causing them to have it done. They have the ability to do it.
Yeah, but
Here's
the
my-
ability to
They
enter
rob
upon
them, they don't.
but is that unlawful entry upon their premises? Is that
I don't know. Well,
Right, I
that's why I
mean,
asked,
the-
because
the-
you're trying to finish it, not have an ongoing non-compliance thing, is what I, and that's the only reason I was angry.
Right,
with
well,
that.
so then what if the first fine is $50 and the second fine is $300? I mean, it's, this is this, and the next time you do it, it's exponentially more. If I have to pay $50, I'm gonna grumble. If I have to pay $300, I'm not gonna do it again.
Right.
So, I mean, I know that's opening a whole can of worms of, is that unlawful entry? Is that trespassing? Is that,
I hate to see
damage to
guys be shot
property?
at.
But no, I wouldn't do it. No, I wouldn't have city guys doing it. The point being is you would have the same people that are gonna probably get hired to do a lot of them around town and have them do it and just charge them as
Yeah.
Or can you just say, you have X
No, I
amount of
wouldn't put
time,
city
we're gonna,
employees on
otherwise, if you haven't done it in this amount of time,
Right, no.
we're gonna add something onto your city bill, a penalty of, $10. You'll have 3 more months, and it'll be $50, if you
I don't
haven't
know
done
that
it.
I don't know that we can add it onto your city bill, because then at that point, it's becoming a violation of city ordinance, so it has to go through the proper legal procedure.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can say, you have 90 days to get these up. If at 91 days you do not have it up, there will be a $50 fine plus court costs and fees. Once that citation happens, if you have not paid that citation and become compliant within 30 days after the issuing of that citation, it becomes a $300 fine. It becomes a $200, whatever amount you want to
So
set.
How
instead
are
of
we-
building this ordinance right here, how about we have her draft one specific to penalties and timeframes and change our numbers back and forth on a slider from there? Because it's really just,
And are we gonna send them letters?
The ordinance is going to be published in the paper.
and then,
That's
Not
gonna
everybody
be-
gets paper.
But-
Not everybody reads paper.
Then
yes, we
So-
would, through the city billing, we would put out that we have now passed this
Right.
ordinance. It's now a requirement that you have this. This is the ordinance, and these are do a small summary of what it is, that's published such and such.
Or just include a copy of the ordinance with every city bill.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, just run however many.
I think
ci-
you could
And a
maybe put
small
little
explanation
small
why it's so
snippet.
important.
Yeah.
Because
That's what I was
good-
gonna say,
right.
that's why I think we should
Goodness
have a letter,
gracious, someone
because it
should
serves the
understand.
purpose of deliveries, emergency services, it's not just the city's,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We want
I
that
think
on
it
the
just
house.
serves
Put a
everybody's
small
purpose.
snippet in there, most people aren't gonna wanna read ordinances. and-
Right.
I think if you
legal-
put a small snippet on your bill stating, small snippet, on the bill stating, city has passed ordinance number whatever,
This is why
requiring
we've done
house
it.
numbers on for these reasons, a copy of the ordinance is posted. I mean, we have to tell them where they can see the
It could
ordinance.
be on the back,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
side with what you
Like I said,
just
but I
said,
think
and the
if-
back
I
side
think
the
if you
ordinance.
just put it simple, this is why we
Right.
passed it, this is why we've done it, here's the copy if you want it, instead of just sending an ordinance, people probably aren't gonna read the ordinance, and then, I think if
Thank
you
you.
kind of explain
I'm
it
just
to them.
throwing.
But you can put the ordinance number in there.
Right, I mean, I think we need to post to them where they can see, and put, I mean, if they're gonna do a snippet and they're not going to read the ordinance, then we need to say, there is a monetary penalty for failing to comply with this ordinance.
Yeah.
People will look at what it is.
Mhm.
Right.
I'm just throwing this out, but, and I'm all for it, don't get me wrong, but is our timing wrong with all this COVID crap that's going on? To try to get this accomplished when we got all this other stuff going on? Is it gonna put too much pressure on people at this point?
just make the time frame reasonable. Just make it
Yeah,
longer
90
if
days
you're worried
to
about
spend
them.
$5 for.
You can get them on that.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Get the news out
True
there and give
value.
them till May 1st next year to have it done.
And that would be
Plenty of
fine.
time.
And I'd be
well,
fine with
but
that.
I mean, I think
6
even
months
with
out.
the COVID thing, I mean, if an ambulance or something is getting
I'll
called,
give you that.
that's more of
That's-
the point. I mean, 90 days was what one of them had. I mean, if you want to do 6 months, we can do 6 months. I would.
Yeah, I don't see the timing being bad.
I don't
I don't
see it being
either.
bad, and I can't fathom just the cheap numbers that you can get down at the hardware store to be that expensive.
No.
That it would set somebody back.
Depends on how
They're
fancy
just
you
gonna
want
have to have
to
some
put
on
it.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which would be the other thing with COVID, is they're available.
You could,
Mm.
but
You
they,
get your spray
they
paint
have,
out. I know.
they
Get
have
your spray
the,
paint
right,
out,
they
yeah.
have the option of painting it.
Yeah.
So what time frame would we want to have put on to have it done by?
I think 90 days is,
And I like your idea of 6 months.
What if we
Well-
say
People are
90
gonna forget about it, and
what,
then all of a sudden, if we give them too much time.
what if we say
January
90 days, and if you're not compliant within 90 days, you can be issued a $50 fine, and if it's past 6 months, then it's a larger amount. You have 90 days to be compliant. If you
Well,
fail,
then that's January 1st, so we'll just say January 1st.
Yeah, that'd be 90 plus.
But I think there's ample time.
But you don't want penalties to be that harsh.
what would
If you want to get it done.
Court costs are court costs. Court costs are $50 unless they come in and they want an attorney appointed for them. Then they're appointed a public defender and they make payments on.
Okay, I was just gonna
yeah.
get basic. probably.
Generally, for a matter like this, court costs would be $50.
More than they spend on the numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that also gives an incentive to, I mean, if the numbers are $5 a piece, and the fee is either $25 to $50 plus court costs of $50, then that's $100. I mean, you're 8
Well-
times better buying 3 numbers.
I mean, 99% of people will, the only place I see where we can run into a problem is the snowbirds that head south about October and don't come back until March, April. They might not be around, so how are they gonna do it?
They can hire someone to go put the numbers on. I mean, if JR can hire somebody to go put the numbers on, they can hire somebody to go put the numbers on too.
But I'd
But
hate
what
to,
is that-
I'd
is
hate
that
to
like-
hire somebody when I could do it myself when I get home.
But isn't it like 5% of the community? Would you
What's
think?
that?
The snowbird, would that make it?
Probably not even that much, but there would be a few of them.
Then those, I think you could do a case-by-case basis,
Yeah.
I guess.
But more than likely, they could call somebody and find somebody to put them up for a little bit of nothing for them, so. That'd be the only case I could see where somebody might not be around for a little bit, or somebody that's, yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how many
City
snow.
Hall and explain their situation
Right.
and if
That all
they're-
falls into the enforcement of it too, because at the given period of time, you drive around, you make notification of the situation, or you've been contacted and know they're gonna be back 2 weeks after the deadline, and you give them the time if their intent is to put them up.
I mean, with property, I mean, like what we do with property cleanup, if the deadline passes and it's not up, JR and his crew drive around. I issue kind of just a letter stating, this is the ordinance, the time has passed, this is your first and last written warning to do this. It gets served on them or left at it gets served on them personally or left at their residence. And I mean, we don't have to do
You want the written word
it.
to be fairly tough. The actual enforcement is where we can have leeway.
Right. But I do agree with the 90 days, because that also doesn't push it out there so far that people forget about it too, so. I think once they know why we're doing it, and list those 3 or 4 reasons, main reasons, right there on the front, they're gonna just do it. Because when they know it's for 911 calls, it's for the city, it's for all these different things.
Delivery services.
Delivery service, all that stuff. I think they'll understand that then, so. Okay, well, we did get something drafted up for us, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay, on to old business, property cleanups.
We got straightened out on the letters from the sheriff's office to Lauren, and now she's going to give me a subpoena for the one property owner we did get notification on, and the sheriff's department is working on delivering the first letter to the other property, and I talked to him just today.
Perfect. And we had that drafted today.
Okay.
It should be, I'll be proofreading it either tonight or tomorrow morning. We'll have Janet run it to Cody when she goes mailing, so you should be able to just sign it here at the city in front of Cody, who's the municipal court clerk. She'll get it over there for them to sign, unless you want to run it over there and sign it in front of the judge and then have it done.
Okay.
Anyone can do that. So we will have that to Cody tomorrow when Janet goes mailing at 11 a.m.
Okay. Anything else on property cleanup? Not, we'll go to project spending again.
Gina, did you get the information on the shades on the downstroke? We'll try to add that back to our list there.
Do you want me to, I've got a bunch of that I can scan in and just put it out in a folder.
That would work.
You talking about the price, what they quoted?
And the specifications.
Just the
and-
shade, yeah. Because we had talked, like the shade that they would put up here at the pool, maybe doing that on the
If we
back.
have
I mean,
85-year-old woman.
there's other avenues to,
Those were the expensive.
That was the
ones.
170,000.
Maybe half, because there was gonna have to be pretty good foundation poured for them things, because they went up and down like that.
Cantilever.
You wouldn't think it'd be that much.
no.
No, that was quite a kick. I wouldn't have thought even half that for that kind of thing, but anyway.
And if we can never
Yes.
get anybody to give us a bid on sandblasting that,
I don't see this on projects pending, but I wanted to raise it. The discussion previously of a dog park, Tom Small had contacted my office again today and asked what they need to be doing for that, and I don't know that that's something, what they need to be doing and what ordinances they need to be complying with, as I am counsel for the city and not counsel for whoever is taking on that. I'm not sure that that's a research project I can be sent down.
I thought we gave them, last meeting we gave them.
He just needs to
approval
talk to me. It's a city property. We've already okayed the general gist of doing so.
That's what I thought, and my understanding was where we were going with this was there was going to be discussion on what would happen, and then if there needed to be ordinances drafted regarding the monitoring or regulation or anything of the dog park, then we would approach it from there. And so I had not done anything further with this, and I know that that's not, I guess I don't know that that's a project pending and that shouldn't be in my report, but as we had discussed it previously, so is my instruction to return Tom's call and say, this is not something for the city attorney at this time, you need to be speaking with the city superintendent.
We gave them our blessing because they were going to try to get grant funding for it.
Right.
And we had suggested maybe using the back part on the east side where there's already a fence where the airport property was.
Right,
cut
to
back on the
abut to it, and
But
they had
then-
flagged it.
but that's in a different place.
Correct, but we had just mentioned that maybe that would cut back on some of the
Right, they
expense.
would if they went up there,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no.
but if they put it
Okay.
I was
over.
gonna say it's in them.
I think all we're really left with, I can't imagine what there is other than meeting a standard of what you see going up and down the road for dog walking parks for a given height of a fence with so many posts and chain link. Why we would even need ordinances, really, I don't know what it would be.
And I don't know if
I think
there's,
it's just a matter of just building it properly, as far as I'm concerned.
I think they just need to get together and
Yeah.
decide a size that they want, the fence they're putting in, with some gates
I
in
mean,
it.
literally, a dog out of the enclosed area must be on a leash. That's as close to as, and we have a leash law anyway, so I don't even, I think it's just,
A matter of doing it,
yeah. He just sent him my way. If he calls
Okay.
me again, or I'll talk.
Well, no,
I know I have talked to him, but-
I had not, he called this afternoon, and I didn't have a chance to get back to him, and so I just thought I'd
Okay.
talk to the council about, my understanding was that the council was kind of on board with this, and that I didn't know there needed to be anything
Yeah.
else. So I will just send him to you, JR, and let him know, that that's where we're at.
There's a lot of information out there on the transient vendor stuff that Cody gathered. In a nutshell, the majority of the ordinances are very similar to ours, the majority that she got. A lot of them are identical, in just, the information is just in a little bit different order, but it's just the LIGS ordinance. But with that said, most surrounding communities do require background checks. There was only one other, and I think it might have been Colby, that said in-county residents didn't need them, but everybody else, it was just across the board background checks. I think there was some variation in what they charged, $20, $25, but you guys said $25, and that seemed to be right in line with everybody else. Oberlin is the only one that has Theirs is the very simplest because they have the Green River ordinance, which is one that basically prohibits all peddlers. You cannot go, the Green River ordinance is you cannot go to anybody's home unless you are specifically invited. So that eliminates everybody going door to door or anything. And then they just lump everybody together. And if you're going to do this, here's the fee, but you can't go door to door unless you're invited, but you still have to pay the fee. So anyway, they're all out there if you want to look at them, but
I still like your suggestion. Basically $100 a year, and in that $100, $25 for the background check is included. So it's basically $75 a year.
75 for in-county and $100 for out.
Right.
that's what you had, yeah. And a
And
25.
it includes the background check.
Right, and then you had $10 for anybody that wanted to do it for a year, and if they just wanted it for a day, it was $10 a day plus the background check. And
I
so,
think it's like the background check on everybody, just
Yeah.
covers.
so as far as our ordinance goes, and Lauren, she would just basically have to modify the existing ordinance to change the fees and to change the background check rules, I believe. I think everything else,
And then you send those out the first of the year,
send what out?
notifying, or they come to you?
They come to us,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So,
Yeah.
but yearly, so they're not good.
So
Right.
they have to get.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
It's up to them to keep track of if they need to come back in, I guess. Although it's not a big deal. I mean, I
We could
send letters.
something out, couldn't we? Like-
Yeah, I could keep track of who's got one, and if it's a yearly thing, I could send them a reminder letter if it's, yeah. We don't
Don't
have
you do
that
that with-
many.
Chicken permits or stuff
Yes,
like
I do that
You
with-
just kind of send up a yearly.
Yep.
Yeah, that would,
Yep, I could sure do that.
yeah, that wouldn't be that hard.
Mm-mm.
That'd be nice if we just could get them all to sign up first of the year, so it's just an automatic, especially the ones that come back all the time, but there is new ones, so.
That would be something to think about, because that's the chicken permits are the same. We get them on a schedule, and then they're all the same. If we could make it where it's an annual thing at the beginning of the year, you come in June, it's still $100, but that's only going to last until the end of the year, and then in January you have to renew. If we could do it, it would make my job simpler trying to keep track of everybody.
Yeah, I'd say just. do
Jared,
it.
reading through these today, at our last meeting, didn't we say that Swans did not have to pay anything right now? They weren't paying?
They're done.
They what?
Swans is done.
They
They're
are.
not doing door-to-door service.
Oh,
You
okay.
can- They shut down their depot in Clinton, and they are contracting with UPS. They shut down like 80-some.
When did this happen? I just passed a Swan truck Friday.
We could go today.
Really?
Once stopped by my house and said that was his last time.
Wow.
That answers that question.
Yep, so they're going through UPS, so you have to actually order it, and they will, I don't know how it's gonna work with ice cream shipping it, but not my problem, I guess. I don't know how that's gonna work, but yeah, I was notified last Monday that they
Okay.
are, yeah, that was his last time stopping, and they are done with door-to-door, not really door-to-door, but doing their personal delivery.
Are we still going to do, so I think that was the other question that had come up, was the folks that park on, like the one that was here yesterday over at the grocery store selling Trump stuff. Didn't know he was coming, and he was just there for the day. Jared said they used to allow it if it was on a business's property, that they
Private.
didn't have to.
That's
But
up to the business
our
owner.
ordinance doesn't say that.
That was the way around it, I think. There's nothing in writing that says that. That's one of those scary old, it's always been that way things. As long as they had somebody that said they could, they did it. And it was accepted, but I don't know if it needs to be going forward.
One of the ordinances, I don't remember which city has it in their ordinance that if somebody sets up on a private property, then they don't have to pay any fee. It would be only if they were,
You know, that background check again, you're relying on the business.
What are they selling? Who are they selling it to? We
Yeah.
have to have regulation on that. I think that the way it used to be probably should be thrown out.
Well, that's
I
what
mean,
it
the point of
currently
this is
says.
to protect the public's interest as much as anything, and doing that means a background check and knowing who is selling what and where. So, don't you think? I mean, I think exceptions just ask for trouble.
Yeah, you can be on a slippery slope very quickly.
And it's just a matter of enforcement. You know, when we see them, we gotta deal with them too, but there ain't that many, I mean, I don't know.
There really isn't.
But I still think that we should get all these things, vendors and chickens and everything else, all to come to January 1st, instead of here, and everything. And so,
Get it, or, yeah, we should-
so if it's an out-of-town vendor that comes in and say he comes in right now and he wants to buy a vendor's license, instead of being $100, maybe we could say it's going to be $50
You could
because
prorate
already
it.
half the year's gone, but you're going to repay January 1st, $100.
So we could do that. We could come up with a schedule, a prorated type schedule, depending on when they came in.
Would that make your job
Quarterly.
easier?
Just do it quarterly.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it would.
Other than with the background check. I mean, we'd have to,
So it would have to be the same thing. It couldn't be, it'd have to be done again when they renew, so.
but I'm saying if we're charging $100 and that includes a background check,
Oh.
and then second quarter, we're charging 75 with a background check. When you get down to fourth quarter, you're gonna just cover the background check. So I don't know if we want to charge the $10 daily fee just to show, I mean, I don't, just a thought, like, if we're including the $25 for background check, if we do it quarterly, then
Sounds complicated.
I think
By
the goal,
year,
I think,
6 month and daily.
I think if the goal is to get everybody to renew on January 1st, you're disincentivizing people to renew on January 1st if you're telling them, oh, if you only sell halfway through the year, you're going to pay a cheaper fee.
Mm,
That
yeah.
instantaneously disincentivizes people to sell until July 2nd, because at that point in time, they will be paying half of the amount that they would be if they sell on June 31st. So stating this is the amount, this is the amount for the year. It terminates on January 1st of every year. You're going to pay the full 100 whether you register
And
in
if they-
September or...
If they sell in December, they can pay the daily fee, or November.
Right.
They can pay the $10 a piece, or $10 a...
There's something
per-
else that we do that way, and I can't remember what it is now, that it doesn't matter where during the year. If it's in December, it's a tree trim license.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Yep. Let's just do it January 1. And
Yeah.
if you, like I said, if you come in October, you can pay $10 a day, and
Yeah, that's the point.
plus the background fee, and then once January hits, you can pay the 100 to renew.
Okay. Yep, let's go that way. Okay, street project, same old, same old.
The October 12th is when they're going to come to us with the final design stuff. I won't be here at that meeting. I'll be here the next day or a couple days after that. Review it at that time, and we still have plenty of time to okay it and go get forward with going forward with the bid process. So that's all
And-
that's going on in the streets that I'm.
Yeah. That meeting is actually going to be on the 13th because the 12th is a federal holiday, and according to our code, any federal holiday or city holiday meeting gets moved to the next day. Columbus Day.
Oh.
So I was
Gotta
going
get it off,
to
so
bring
don't-
that up later, but
What's
it'll
that?
be on
Get it off,
Tuesday, the 13th.
Just have to burn one less day to go
Of
to golf.
October?
Yes.
That's what I said, you don't get it off, so.
I won't be here at that meeting either,
But,
unless something changes.
yeah, I
I
mean,
will get
Are you going to
all
be?
of my things drafted in.
I'm not going that far south.
Oh,
but
okay.
I am going south, but not that far. Okay, building permits.
And they're on there.
oh, I have no
You
internet.
have some that we've forgotten about.
What's that?
You have some that we've forgotten about, or
Someone that I have.
some building permits that maybe got lost somewhere.
I can look. I have a spreadsheet.
Yeah, we keep track. Every once in a while I get chewed out for missing one like that.
I'll have to
Specific.
look. I can't remember, it seems like there was a couple things I had.
5?
Like structures around town you've
Yeah.
seen built? No?
Let me.
Okay. I thought I had one today. I was like, I don't remember giving a permit for that fence, and I called Jen, she goes, yeah, 2014. It's like, yes, I'm getting mad. 2014, that wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
I'll look at my
Yeah.
list.
Yeah,
I'll
next one.
I'll move to approve the building permits.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Larry and seconded by Amanda, to approve the building permits, all in favor? Approved. Superintendent report.
So we do a fall cleanup in October every year, and it seems like every year we do less for people who need assistance and more for people who just take advantage of the fact we say we'll pick up about anything. And it gets really tiring, I guess, to put it plain and simply. That thing was originally set up to help people clean up, keep the town clean, mostly for people who didn't have the ability to do that. We have things come to town to be thrown away through the city cleanup. I know we do. We get taken great advantage of on this thing at times, and I'm sick of it. I guess I wanted to at least discuss my disgust with it. It does serve a purpose, and it serves a good purpose, but to so very few, and the rest of it is just being taken advantage of. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a little bit more each year.
Just drive up there and look what they took up there to the Goodwill truck and got left.
Which I was going to bring up. I mean, that one just got ridiculous. The trailer got full. There was furniture that was taken out of an old house that I know sold that was just, it was put up there to keep from going to the dump. It's the same thing that happens on our city cleanup. It comes to town as a free disposal service, and they're just taking advantage of it. Gets old.
Can we impose a fee? Because obviously the city gets charged for some things, and/or charge a fee. We're going to charge you X amount for whether it's an appliance, or, so that way it discourages a little bit, but still helps the people that need the service.
Difficult, because we go through and we pick up all these items on this given load, so quantifying it would be, is difficult, to say the least. Per individual. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I just wanted to be really clear on how bad it can be in certain areas. And there are those people who just, well, since the city's doing cleanup and they put a little bit of stuff out, it's not bad when it's like that, but it's when you get stuff that comes from out of city limits, from the farmhouse, from here, from there, it's discouraging to deal with that when you know that's what's happening.
And do they call in and say, pick up? Okay. I didn't know if that would.
Yeah.
But some of it is.
They don't care.
And the gist of it is, and I don't know whether we could impose that it must come from the property or from the address that it's being picked up at, or I don't know. I know we can't verify it, but it's, I guess it's important to, at a public meeting, discuss that we get taken advantage of on this by people, and it's just, you know, we did it last year by this amount, and this year it's 5 times more at that same address, kind of thing. So I don't know.
I agree with Amanda that I think there should be a fee tied to it some way, just to discourage it a little bit and stuff. If it was $20 per whoever household calls in, if it was $20, and maybe they don't do it, but then there'll still be some people that will, oh, for $20, I'm going to take all this stuff out there and pile it on the curb.
That's the backfire. If I'm going to pay for it, you're really going to get it.
Yeah, that's true.
But we
too.
can
How do
approve it, we
you
can approve
stop?
or disagree, right? Like, I mean, they have to call it in,
But therein lies the next issue is, once the pile gets started and they have a month and a half to add to the pile, they may forget to call in, but they're so quick to call in and chew out the city for not picking up all their stuff. Well, they put more there than what was there. I mean, every one of these issues exaggerates each year.
Well, let's take the Goodwill. How do you stop that scenario?
Oh, I know Nancy took some stuff up there. She said, oh my gosh, you couldn't believe the stuff that was just piled around the outside of the truck. She said, I walked up the steps and she said, she just had a sack of something. She said, I got it thrown up in there far enough, but people weren't even.
I've seen it kind of like that at the Methodist food store before.
Oh, yeah.
After
They're doing it down here
Yeah.
too.
Goodwill insists that they do really well on this thing during the time when we do those, the treasure hunt thing. And so they want it there. However, the amount of people that go up there with good intentions and drop things off is it's awesome. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Then there's the people who show up, who are up in there digging stuff out, throwing things out to get to things that they want. And yes, it's illegal. They don't get into enforcing it. They simply say that's the way it is. People witnessed them doing this. Once it was so disorganized in there that you couldn't get anything else in there, then of course this junk starts just getting set outside. And after that junk treasure hunt, you know, like the particle board desk and this stuff, I mean, literally, you know that it was a piece of junk when it was bought brand new. It certainly doesn't belong in a Goodwill thing. So the Goodwill trailer was kind of an insult to injury, knowing we're doing the cleanup. So the ones who didn't stack their stuff behind this trailer are going to have it nice and ready for the city to pick up during the cleanup. So.
Well, I've often thought the Methodist thrift store, they need to, maybe we could help them get, you got one of those Ring doorbells, and they don't have to wire it in, it's battery operated. And make sure you put a little sign, camera, and you could probably stop some of that.
I think they're doing better now because they've been posting it and stuff, but they still get stuff too.
They have cameras, were they just inside?
Is
I
it
can't
something
remember
you
now.
want
I don't
to
know.
eliminate?
Goodwill?
No, the
Oh.
cleaning.
You hate to, because the reason, the purpose for it years ago was what it was used as. When 19 years ago when I started here, it literally was people who didn't have the ability to put stuff on a truck and go. And it's gotten to the point where I need to hurry up and trim all my trees so I can get the city to haul away the branches. It's just morphed over time.
It used to be twice a year, spring and fall.
We did, yes.
Yeah.
What about the other programs like once a year, like paint pickup or computers, electronic stuff? I mean, is that going okay?
You can take that out to the dump anytime.
Yeah, you used to
Even
only
paint?
have certain times. Yeah.
Really?
Yep,
I've never done paint because I didn't think you could.
yep.
Really? Okay.
And you can actually take the lid, they used to take it in the trash if you took the lids off and it was dried out.
Yeah.
But I was just out there a couple weeks ago and talked to Byron, he said they take paint anytime.
Wow, okay.
They don't do the hazardous household roundup that they used to, or was taking anytime. So,
I think it would be, if we do it this year, I think it should be with a clear understanding and utilizing the newspaper, if we can get their attention, to put in there that it may be the last year just due to being taken advantage of, and we'll see how it goes this year. It's too late to do it and change it this year. It's time to put the advertisement out there, so have the cleanup. But I really think, of course, then, the next thing you say this might be the last one, then what do you get?
yeah.
People are really going to clean out.
I don't think you want to go there, because then I think it's
That's
just
probably
like
the wrong message, isn't it?
exponential,
I
yeah.
don't know.
It's the same thing with the compost pile.
Oh, I know.
So see, but what's happened, if you think about it over time in this same 19-year time period that I'm talking about where it used to be that way, it used to be you could take a load of mixed junk to the dump and it was a nominal fee. We had somebody there who didn't care about separating or staying in compliance with KDHE. Byron does a good job, but it costs us. And it costs people who take things out there because it's being done properly. And that is a lot of what it is. I don't want to have to deal with separating this or have to deal with, the dump directly so I can use the city. So I think that's probably maybe even a bigger factor than just taking advantage of the city.
Well, maybe go back to just yard trash. No furniture, none of that other stuff now.
But you still hate for those that don't have pickups and needs to.
But they can find
They
somebody.
can find somebody.
They can find somebody. I mean, if there's some little lady that needs something hauled off, she calls me, I'll haul it out there for her. But it was mainly to keep yards clean is the main thing we started with, because it was spring and fall both. Then we decided that we don't need to do it twice a year. It's more for the yards than anything else. So maybe we just go back to yard trash.
Is that the way it started?
Yeah.
Or you think, is that what it did? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
started,
it's been
it
any
started
of
out as
everything.
just, your fall cleanup, yard stuff and your fall and spring yard stuff.
The old
Then all of a
patio
sudden it
furniture.
started getting furniture out there. And refrigerators and appliances and stuff.
Yeah.
I really don't think, and really if they're buying a new appliance, usually whoever they're buying the appliance from will haul the old appliance off. They might be charged something for it, but they're gonna haul it off. I wonder if we just don't go back.
Yard, garden waste and.
Yard
tree
and
branches?
garden waste, yes.
I like that
Only.
idea.
Only.
I love it, but I mean, people are, they're gonna hate it. I mean, they're used to, because like I said, they're used to taking advantage of it. I'm fine with
Shock
that.
the system for a year.
Yeah.
I'm
See
fine
what
with that.
happens.
And if somebody starts complaining about, we're gonna say we've been abused, so we went back to the way it started. Yard and trash and garden, people are pulling their gardens up now and stuff,
So just so we're clear, it's garden waste, yard waste, and tree branches.
Right.
Anything to do with,
But your tree branches need to be cut in what lengths, because we did that too, didn't we?
we can deal with that mostly. We've got the grapple. I mean,
Okay.
that's case by case, but yeah.
Okay,
we can
well,
deal
that's
with that.
fine. So let's just say you're,
I like
is
it if
everybody
the
okay with
council
that? The JR gets it in the paper and it's just gonna be yard, garden, and tree limbs.
Who's
Pick
gonna
up.
take my mattress?
Sleep comfortably
What
now.
was all this stuff I was waiting?
I'm gonna
Whole
call
room full of stuff
Scott.
waiting for the city to come by.
It's like JR said, people just set that over to the side of their house or in their garage just waiting for this.
Mhm.
And waiting and waiting and waiting, so they don't have to pay for it. Well, that's not right.
I think I'm slightly guilty of that, because I honestly didn't realize it was just, the intent was just for that.
It
And-
was when it first started.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the intent was originally that. From the time I've been here, it's anything up to a car we'll take. And
Mhm.
we've taken cars. And, and at one time when you was trying to get rid of junk cars, that's fine and dandy. But like I say, when you see things coming from the farmhouse and from out of town and, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
No.
Well, thank goodness Mike Day's bouncing off, we got cleaning out his dumpster. That was about every year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That you guys had to clean up whatever
Oh, yeah.
stuff got
The
thrown in the dumpster.
community dump back
Yeah.
behind Mike Days. Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, I think I'll attempt to get a hold of the paper and just explain why it is, and that's what it is, because the call-in people are the ones that are going to take the heat on it, but it's just, will of council, let's do it. And thank you.
You may get people at the next meeting complaining.
What'd you say, yard waste?
Any kind of
Tree
yard waste,
Yard,
garden waste.
yard,
or
garden
trees.
waste, tree limbs,
Trees, brush,
just stuff.
From that property, from the property that you're calling in
You want to
on.
haul it somewhere else to fill it in?
Huh?
You want to haul it somewhere else?
Yeah. Like I said, yeah.
Hey, JR,
Yes.
personal question.
Yes.
I know we're recording, I won't say it, but I have a neighbor. And I do his weed eating on his weeds every week for him. He's a little older and I do it. The section by the street, my section I have rocked in. His section is just all stickers. I have a blowtorch, a weed torch. But it's so brown, I'm afraid it's going to get out of hand. What's your advice to me on that?
Burn it.
Burn it?
Yeah, you've got a sidewalk between
Yeah.
his property and that thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Stuff
of course,
Go for
garden
it.
hose and burn it.
Okay.
If he's okay with it.
Yeah, oh, yeah, trust me, he's okay.
Yeah, garden hose and burn it, as long as it don't get onto his property,
Okay.
because then it gets a little sticky.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
If it is on there, it's going. So,
That's
Yeah.
right. Pick the right day and,
okay.
Oh, fire truck.
yeah. The next thing I had was the Goodwill thing, which of course I discussed with them. We ended up hauling the truck. We loaded it today of all that garbage that couldn't be put in the thing to haul it away. And I told him that I was, at least talk to the council about that it gets taken advantage of too.
I mean, it's supposed to be a service for people who need things, and it's embarrassing for our community what actually happens with that, whether it be people in there taking stuff out or people just dropping their garbage at it. That's not Goodwill's intent. That's just people, being bad. What else do you say about it? But it's disgusting, and I just thought it was important to point that out. I don't think it just has to do with the Route 36 thing, but I think that is a factor. So I don't know, we're going to talk about it. I think they normally come twice a year.
2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times. And discuss with him also as to, whether they're actually getting things they use or not. He said most of the time they usually do. So I just wanted to express that, discuss with what happened with that as well.
And maybe we just ask if you get full, move it,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
Which
I
we
know.
did, but
Yeah.
there's such an influx because it's still sitting there when the Route 36 is over and everybody, you got the driveway full of junk.
Mhm.
Goodwill, labeled. It
Yeah.
shouldn't, but it comes on because it's free, like the city cleanup. So, anyway. We'll discuss it as far as whether it should be here at that time of year, because that's what a lot of that stuff was. It was at the back of that trailer, I think. I did discuss the boiler at the last council meeting. Strangely, 2 days later, I had a failure in it. So we're still trying to get pricing on that boiler. It's going to be expensive, obviously, but I haven't received anything back. We did have somebody out looking at it and getting the specifications on the pumps and everything. So hopefully we'll get something done with that. The final item I actually had was Valley Street. We had a curb and gutter put in there, so we're working on that drainage. The only reason I bring it up is we've had citizens concerned about that street specifically. Well, in working it, it's actually worse than it has been in the past, but we need rain. We'll get it there, but we are working on that street in case you get any complaints. But we need moisture. You can't do anything with it when it's that dry. So.
What do you mean curb and gutter? You put curb and gutter in
Cliff
it?
Semler put it.
Cliff Semler did. In front of his new house that he's building there. Got probably 50, maybe 75 feet. He put in. And
He had said he was going.
Yeah, and basically what that did is change the grade. That's where it washed over to that area, and that is the street boundary. And of course, anybody at their own expense can put in curb and gutter. In doing so, it changes the drainage to where we're going to have to go to the center. So we're having to drop the east side, which is a little bit harsh into that bank, but we're going to have to get it flattened out so it can carry that water without getting it up against the curb and gutter because the dirt's street. So.
Okay.
It might be a complainable mess when we get a rain or two, but then we don't have a choice but to work on it and try to make it better. So that's all I've got.
Are the guys with the poles doing that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, they are actually. They're working 4 12-hour days. They don't work Fridays. They're back today. That's slow work. They're doing outages, and of course, I've had complaints how long the light's going to be out. But they're simply changing out transformers where they're taking 4 and 5 people out at a time.
That's what Dan said.
It's please improve the power line. Why is my power out? Anyway, it's just kind of comical. But yeah, it is slow, tedious work, but they're doing a good job. They do good work.
Well, at least right now, it's starting to cool off, so it's
Yeah.
not like your air conditioner has to be running. I mean, you can get by now, so.
Yeah.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the superintendent report?
Awesome.
Moved by David. Second by Larry. All in favor? Approved. Attorney report, Lauren?
I request 10 minutes of executive session for consultation with an attorney for the body or agency which would be deemed privileged in attorney-client relationship. That is pursuant to KSA 4319, subparagraph B, subsection 2. This is regarding imminent pending litigation, and that is my reason, and I cannot go into more details outside of executive session. I have nothing to report outside of executive session.
Okay. Clerk report.
Just need you guys to let me know if you approve of the new ad. It's out there on the share that Helen sent us.
I was looking at that. I have one little suggestion.
Okay.
The letter on top, could we make that red?
No.
That's nice.
Caleb.
I thought the improvements, yeah, I like getting ready to have the colored pond with diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks so much better the way it came up now, so. Everybody liked it? for
Yeah,
what it
looks
was?
good.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
yeah.
The CDBG grant, of course, the deadline is this Wednesday. We've had lots of businesses, at least a dozen, I think, come in and pick up applications, but none have returned them, except for one, but it was missing some documentation. I did get a call today from a business with some questions and helped him with that, and but I'm hoping people will bring them back. So,
Do we have a list? I mean,
I kind of kept track, tried to keep track
I mean,
of
I
who was
didn't know if
picking
we
them
reach
up.
out to them or not, you know. just to-
How much hand-holding do you want me to do? I
Yeah.
mean,
I know, I just was hoping they would
I had them
follow through
contact
with it,
me.
you know, that's all,
I said, get in there and
If
fill
it-
out the paperwork.
you know.
I mean,
okay.
I can't really, I probably can't do that because we kind of loosely kept track of who picked them up, but
Mhm.
I didn't write everyone down, and so if I followed up with one and forgot somebody else, then that would be a problem.
Yeah.
I have a general idea of who all came in.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
we
hope we
can't
get
hold their
some.
hand,
Yep.
I hope we get some.
but we can help the ones that do.
Yeah, and the one that called today had some really excellent questions, and Justine was going to give him a call and help him through a couple of things that I couldn't answer, and so I hope we get something. The food pantry has turned in enough. The minimum amount that they had to submit was $3,000 before they would issue a check, and they've been bringing in their invoices, and they finally reached that amount, and so they should be getting reimbursement for some food, and that will continue to be ongoing as they bring in their invoices, so that's good. Last meeting, Dan had talked about the bunker gear, and I didn't say anything at that time because I couldn't really remember, but at last year's budget hearing, the council had approved $6,000 a year in equipment reserved specifically for bunker gear. So his request for bunker gear is part of our equipment reserve plan. So every year, I don't know if you have it in your written plan, but it should be. I'd forgotten about that, so I let Dan know that he's good to go
What do
for
you say
that.
it takes about 2,000 for
Three.
3,000? So that's only two. So he needs to get to that plan where he's just replacing two every year.
Yeah.
And that's
Him and the
that's his
county,
intentions.
Yeah, and so,
Yeah, I think he's planning on trying to get something
Right.
done for this year yet, so he can get that done now that he knows for sure. And then I got a call from a salesperson from a company called Archive Social. And basically what they do is they back up your social media accounts like Facebook with the intent of if you ever got an open records request from somebody wanting all of your Facebook content forever, you would be able to provide it to them. And it is a concern if we ever got asked for open records from Facebook because we don't archive on our own Facebook. I called Oakley because they use this service, and they felt like it was beneficial. There have been some communities that have been sued because of content gone missing from their Facebook pages that was deleted intentionally. So I guess my question is, he has a presentation that, what's that?
Oh, I was going to say, but you're not deleting anything intentionally.
We are not, no. The only thing we would ever delete is if something was offensive, like somebody using foul language, the F word here and there. We would probably delete that. But our Facebook page isn't really meant for comment. It's just meant for information sharing. So that's really all we use our page for right now. So I talked to Lauren earlier about that, and she said if there isn't a reason, we're not deleting anything. But we could get accused of it, and then I don't know that I could prove that we didn't if I don't have it archived. So I don't know. I can listen to their presentation and have them provide a quote if you think it's worthwhile, or, we don't delete anything, so
almost seems like a solution to a problem we don't have.
Yeah.
It's just like everything else. We keep buying insurance for everything we do.
Yeah.
We're insurance broke, everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody is.
That was kind of my conversation with Lila, and it was, I think we've had it on multiple issues in the last week or two when we've had a conversation is, you know, I'm kind of always Debbie Downer, but my position is not to tell anyone what they should do. My position is to analyze risk, and it's up to the council to decide whether or not that is a level of risk that they are willing to accept. And so, my question was, when this was brought up, was, do we need this? Is there a way we can do this ourselves? I mean, what are they going to do that we couldn't otherwise do? I mean, if that's every time someone posts a Facebook post, print it out and stick it in a file.
If
I
you
mean, I don't know.
want somebody, that seems like a waste of our resources in the office. If you're wanting somebody to monitor our Facebook page, I guess Cody could do that.
I mean, who posts the Facebook posts?
Jen and I, and it's usually Jen, and it's usually just information. And occasionally somebody will feedback, you know, that we're not cleaning the streets or something.
Just put a disclaimer out there that you do not, like, things are put out there for information purposes or...
Yeah, but if you're putting it out for information purposes.
I mean, is there some sort of disclaimer you can put out there that they are not archived or, like...
I think that's
they're
been
not-
talked about, that anything that you put out
I
there
think it
is an
has to
open
be.
record.
Yeah.
If it's put out
If
there,
it's disseminated through an official city medium of communication,
yeah.
then it is part of a record. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know that a screenshot saved to a server of every. I mean, Control-Alt-Print screen saved to server. That could be a solution. This might be $5 a month, and that's what they do. I mean, I don't know.
It's significantly more than that.
I mean, I don't know what the price. I don't know what the price is. It might be $5 a post. It might be.
They,
One question I would have
Oakley
is how many
pays-
people, what is our volume of traffic on our Facebook page? Is there any way of ascertaining that information and knowing?
Jen
Yes.
might be able to answer that, yeah.
There is ways.
We have a lot of people that follow our page, but again, it's because we post, you know, power outages. We post street, you know, the street's going to be worked on. We post
Right. And it's more
that
live than
kind
the
of
website,
stuff.
I get it.
It's not meant for back and forth
Right.
discussion.
1,067 people follow the city of St. Mary.
But you cannot tell people not to comment on your page. You can't make it a page that people cannot comment on. We were told that at one of my clerk things. You can't walk it down in that manner. So,
Which I would think you know, people pretty friendly and whatnot.
yeah.
And if people post on that, then is that one job to keep those records of other people's posts?
If it's on our Facebook page, yes. And that's where this is coming from, yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, it's one post out there, and then it just, sometimes, I mean, it's not to say we've had it yet, but you do see that once in a while, that there's stuff the bandwagon, and there it goes.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
But wouldn't they have to prove that we did it? Just like a lot of other things, they'd have to have proof that we did
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Like if they had something that showed, well, here's the page and here's my post, and now here's your page and that post isn't there, so somebody deleted it. I don't know.
I think it's overkill.
What's that?
I think it's overkill.
I do too.
Okay.
And the risk you run with a municipality having a Facebook page is, especially in a small community, conspiracy theories and rumor mills are forms of entertainment. And, you know, and so you can open yourself up for tons of Pandora's boxes. I mean, and so I don't know what you do.
Okay.
But if it's significantly more than $5 a month, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It is, Oakley pays $2,300 a year for theirs.
Yeah.
$200 a month.
And what does it really save them?
Recording?
So I have not I haven't listened to their presentation, but based on what I got from the guy over in Oakley was basically they're just backing up their Facebook page.
Can I make a
and making
suggestion?
it accessible.
I'll monitor the Facebook page for $100 a month.
Back,
No, okay.
But Oakley's the only one in the area that's doing it?
Scott City, I think, actually got sued by somebody for something that got deleted.
You're just putting information out there.
That's all we're doing. And again, like I said, we're not going to delete something.
There again, that's why we have insurance that covers everything, basically. And yeah, we can be sued anytime for anything. I think forget it.
I don't know.
I think these guys are, going after the smaller communities like ours with scare tactics is kind of what I got from this pushy salesperson.
I would agree.
I
But-
think with
If
Topeka,
the salesman makes
it
a
would be-
comment,
this
make
is
sure to
better.
screenshot it just in case.
I will.
I think that if anybody comes like this, your response should be all matters pertaining to prospective liability need to be run through our attorney, call her. And they can call me and I'll tell them to get off the phone. I mean, no, I'll listen to them, but I'm not going to be
It's just,
steamrolled.
yeah.
Well, that's why I brought it to you
Yeah.
guys, because it wasn't my decision to make, so. All right, that's all I have, except for don't forget the meeting's been changed, and I will send a reminder out.
okay, do you hear a motion to accept and file the clerk report?
So moved.
Moved by Amanda, second by David, all in favor? Approved.
You said the meeting's been changed?
And so, I mean, you must have been sleeping earlier. Oh,
Not Sunday, it's a holiday, it's a Tuesday.
sorry. October.
13th. Did you hear that JR's not going to be here and I'm not going to be here?
I heard that.
I'm not going to be.
Okay, they have enough to have a meeting.
My wife even says I have selective hearing, so.
Wait, that's a good point. Is
Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, you'd
You
still be
three at
all
least,
right.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's
That was fun.
Okay, council comments. David?
I know.
I don't know anything.
Sarah?
No.
Larry? I thank the city crew again for what they do for helping with the events again, like everybody's events. So we had a pretty good turnout on that. So like Timberfest, the 2 trash cans though are at the museum. Okay, well, I guess we don't have to do too much here, but we need to go into executive session.
Who's out?
I need everybody but the council and the mayor out.
I'm sorry, say that?
Everybody but the council and the
It's like-
mayor.
Oh.
I'm out of here,
That's what I thought she said.
Everybody but the council and the mayor. So sorry, JR and Lila, I need you to not be in here.
I will take what she said from the recording and use that in the motion, unless you can remember exactly what she said.
For attorney-client privilege, pretty much, right?
For attorney-client privilege for imminently pending litigation.
Okay. And you
I'll
making
make a motion, yes, with just the council and mayor present.
Okay,
And I need 10 minutes.
10 minutes
And so we'll come back at 8:40.
until 8:40. Okay, second.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so we need a motion to come out of executive session.
Nope.
Or not really, but
No decisions
there
made?
no decisions made in the executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned, and Larry's already standing up, so he seconded it. Everybody else stand up and leave if they're in favor.
So we're clear, it's the 13th.
13th. Friday the 13th.